This is a view of a modern commercial port, a massive intersection of steel and logistics. It takes nearly 2 million seafarers to keep this machinery moving, physically carrying 90% of the world's trade and anchoring a multi-trillion-dollar global economy. On land, an enterprise handling assets of this magnitude relies on a deep corporate hierarchy. A major decision goes to a boardroom, filtered through regional managers, legal teams, and risk assessment committees. But the moment one of these vessels clears the harbor, that entire corporate safety net vanishes. Historically, maritime law recognized this geographic reality. For centuries, bills of lading and insurance contracts referred to a ship's captain by a specific, legally binding title, Master under God. It meant that once a ship sailed over the horizon, it entered a space completely beyond terrestrial government. The captain answered only to the ship's owners upon eventual return, and to God. When a fire breaks out in a cargo hold at 3 a.m., or a catastrophic mechanical failure leaves a ship drifting into a forming hurricane, there is no phone call to a shoreside manager that will arrive in time to help. There is no corporate escalation process. The fate of a $150 million vessel, the cargo, the crew, and the surrounding marine environment all rest on a single human mind making the correct decision in real time. This absolute authority is an operational necessity born entirely from the physical isolation of the ocean. You might expect this level of unilateral control to be a relic of the age of sail. Instead, the absolute authority of the master is strictly enforced by modern international law. It starts here, with the International Maritime Organization. The most important treaty governing maritime safety is SOLAS, the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. Regulation V/34/1 explicitly forbids any corporate or commercial pressure from overriding the master's professional judgment on matters of safety or the marine environment. The industry's own regulations reinforce this structure. The International Safety Management Code, or ISM Code, requires every internationally trading shipping company to write this overriding authority directly into their own mandatory safety manuals. The corporation itself must document that the master's safety decisions cannot be vetoed. In practice, this means the captain of a commercial vessel can look at a billionaire owner or a massive multinational charterer, completely disregard their instructions, and divert a $200 million cargo to a safe port. International law completely shields the captain from civil or commercial repercussions for doing so. If a major shipping company attempted to punish a master for invoking this right, they would invalidate their own safety certification and lose their ability to trade internationally. The master's authority operates as the industry's ultimate legal firewall, a deliberate structural failsafe, guaranteeing that commercial profit cannot legally outweigh human life. The most legally sensitive dynamic in this entire command structure happens in the final miles of a voyage. The deep sea passage ends, and the ship approaches a congested, treacherous coastal port. Here, a local expert known as a marine pilot boards the vessel. Within minutes of stepping onto the bridge, this complete stranger begins issuing direct steering and engine orders to the crew, while the captain steps back. To understand who is actually in charge, maritime law separates conducting a ship from commanding a ship. To conduct a ship is to direct its immediate physical movements, calling out the exact speed and heading needed to navigate local sandbanks or tidal streams. To command a ship is to hold continuous, non-transferable legal responsibility for the overall safety of the vessel and the environment. While the pilot conducts the physical maneuvers, the master retains absolute legal command, carrying the professional duty to overrule the pilot's orders at any moment if the ship is placed in danger. There is only one major waterway on Earth where this rule does not apply. Under the specific legal framework of the Panama Canal Authority, the canal pilot formally assumes full legal command of the vessel during the transit. Everywhere else, the master must simultaneously respect the pilot's local expertise, monitor the ship's radar, and be ready to instantly intervene if a maneuver goes wrong. Modern command requires immense diplomatic tact to manage a highly experienced guest on the bridge, while bearing the inescapable legal liability if they make a mistake. Qualifying for command requires passing a grueling academic gauntlet, but the actual transition to master hinges on a psychological evolution. An officer who previously executed orders must now learn to carry their irreversible weight, making high-stakes decisions when the clock is ticking and information is incomplete. We can see the catastrophic limits of this isolated decision-making in the tragic loss of the SS El Faro in 2015. The 241-meter American cargo ship sailed directly into the path of Hurricane Joaquin, a rapidly intensifying Category 4 storm. Battered by the weather, the heavily listing ship suffered a loss of main engine propulsion and began taking on water. The traditional hierarchy of maritime culture often creates what social psychologists call power distance, a dynamic where subordinates heavily defer to authority. This environment naturally isolates the master from critical pushback. When investigators recovered the ship's voyage data recorder, the audio transcripts revealed that the junior officers recognized the mounting danger. But because of that power distance, they used mitigated speech, phrasing their urgent safety warnings as polite suggestions rather than directly and aggressively challenging the master's chosen route. The master, working from outdated weather data, maintained his course. The ship sank in 4,500 meters of water, and all 33 crew members were lost. The El Faro tragedy proves that technical competence is not enough. Command under immense pressure requires the humility to listen when the ocean changes the rules, and a junior officer happens to be the first person in the room to recognize the danger. This brings us to a reality of the job that is rarely discussed: the profound psychological loneliness of the modern master. They live physically separated from the crew by rigid rank structures and emotionally separated from their families by grueling contracts that stretch for months at a time. Satellite communications, intended to bridge the distance, have actually intensified the master's isolation. Continuous high-speed internet tethers the master to shoreside accountants, charterers, and port agents 24 hours a day. They must justify every fuel decision, speed reduction, or safety delay in writing, in real time, to shore managers who are completely insulated from the physical dangers. The master is trapped in a solitary cognitive space. They must project absolute confidence downward to the crew who depend on it, and absolute competence upward to the corporation that demands it, leaving absolutely no outlet to process their own doubts or exhaustion. The traditional autonomy of the captain has been steadily eroded by the ubiquity of modern communication, but the crushing asymmetric legal responsibility for the vessel has not been reduced by a single ounce. To command at sea is to balance flawless technical execution, absolute legal authority, and relentless psychological endurance, all without a single genuine day off. We rarely think about these invisible decision-makers, yet 90% of everything we eat, wear, and use depends entirely on the uninterrupted flow of these massive vessels. Steel hulls and diesel engines move the world's cargo, but the system is ultimately anchored by the solitary psychological endurance of the master